What's going on, family? This is Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. Want to continue with fantasy fights, Battle of the Legends. Right now we're looking at Marcel Sedan who's from Casablanca, Morocco, and Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Now this is a good one. Brockton, Massachusetts. We're going to break this down. I'm just come from the top of the head on this one. Everything I know about these fighters. So these were middleweights. Marcel Sedan from Casablanca, Morocco. He had a career record, as you can see, 1934 to 1949. Unfortunately for him, he died in a plane crash. He had lost his title, middleweight championship, to Jake LaMotta, Bronx Bull. And he was going to have a return go, but unfortunately for him, he was involved in a plane crash, and he never got that opportunity. So he had a total bouts of 105, 4 losses with 60 knockouts. A very high percentage for him. Let's take a look at Marvelous Marvin Hagler. Now, Marvin Hagler from Brockton, Massachusetts. He was originally from Newark, New Jersey. And he moved to Brockton, Massachusetts, where he met the Petronelli brothers. It was 3 brothers, but he only had Goody and Pat in his corner. And Marvin Hagler had a career of 1973 to 1987. He had a fighting record of 62, 3 losses, 2 draws with 52 by the knockouts route. Now let's take a look at his draws. Now the 2 draws that he had was from Sugar Ray Seals, who was a former 1980 Olympian. Never got a chance to go to Moscow. And the other draw was from Vito Antuofermo, who held the middleweight championship strap. He was from Brooklyn, New York. And the thing about Marvin Hagler, he revenged both those draws. Now, losses. He had 3 losses. 3 losses that he would have would be against Sugar Ray Leonard in 1987. He would lose to Willie the Worm Monroe, Philadelphia fighter, as well as Bobby Boogaloo Watts. Now, the thing with him with the Philadelphia fighters, he had to revenge all those fights with those Philadelphia fighters. Now, he would go on and face Benny Briscoe, bad boy Benny Briscoe. He would defeat him. And at the end of that fight, he would call out another Philadelphia fighter. And that fighter's name was Ronnie Harris. Because Ronnie Harris, according to Marvin Hagler, had a big mouth. And he called him out right there at the Spectrum. And he never got a return answer. But Marvin Hagler wanted that smoke. So we're going to get into Marvin Hagler and we're going to get into Marcel Sedan. Now, Marcel Sedan was born in Casablanca, Croydon. All this is at the top of my head, so I got to figure this out. He was born July 22nd, 1916 in Algeria. I know he died October 27th, 1949, like I said, in a plane crash. And he was on his way back to try and contract with Jake LaMotta for a return go, because he lost the title to Jake LaMotta in 1949. He took the title away from Tony Zale in 1948. Now, Marcel Sedan stood 5 foot 8 inches. He weighed 143 to 163 pounds. Now, he'd be the owner of the France Welterweight Championship and European Welterweight Championship, as well as the World Championship. And he was managed by Lucien Grupp. Fighting record of 106 wins, 4 losses, 61 knockouts. He was inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame in 1962 and the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1991. Now, 1938, I believe the date it was, 1938, he fought Omar Corvary, Casablanca. Defeated him in 12 rounds, and he would win the welterweight championship strap of France. He had 4 title defenses. 1939, June 3rd, he fought Xavier Arturo Toro. He defeated him for the European Welterweight Championship strap. He would face Young Raymond twice and Victor Fortes 4 times. Now, these were high names at that time. He would face a black murderous rule fighter by the name of Holman Williams, who would defeat him in 10 rounds. Georgie Abrams. Now, Georgie Abrams was the fighter that Tony Zale would become world championship owner of the middleweight division against Georgie Abrams. Now, he originally fought Al Hastecker for the state middleweight championship, but he had to solidify that, so he did that with a fighter by the name of Georgie Abrams. Did Tony Zale. So Marcel Sedan was able to defeat Georgie Abrams. He knocked out Harold Green. Now, Harold Green was an Italian middleweight, very rough. And he had his little street wars with Rocky Graziano. They were from the same neighborhood, Brownsville, Brooklyn. He would face Anton Reddick. Anton Reddick also faced Sugar Ray Robinson when Robinson was doing his tour. He fought Dick Tiger, Randy Turpin, several others did Anton Reddick. Marcel Sedan fought Anton Reddick in Chicago, defeating him in 10 rounds. He would face Laverne Roach in New York. And unfortunately for Laverne Roach, he would be killed in a ring with a left hook from Marcel Sedan. 1948, September 12th, he would face Tony Zale, knocking him out in 12 rounds. That would be for the World Middleweight Championship strap. And he left Tony Zale, this is in New Jersey, and he left Tony Zale hanging on the ropes. And the referee at that time was Paul Cavalier. Paul Cavalier had to hold him by the shoulders so he wouldn't fall on his face. I'm speaking of Tony Zale. But Marcel Sedan was a banger. But in 1949, June 16th, he would lose his title to Jake LaMotta. This fight was in Detroit. He would suffer a TKO in 10 rounds because he couldn't get off his stool because of a shoulder injury. So he would call it quits. Jake LaMotta would go on and face Lorenzo Teal. And Marcel Sedan never got his rematch opportunity because of a plane crash. Jake LaMotta would go on and face Sugar Ray Robinson in 51 and lose his championship in 13 rounds. As you can see here.
Click here, less than 1 day left. I did this on Black Friday, I'm going to do it again. Spring is here. I'm going to take my 4 top mentor programs.
Now, he won his first 45 fights and debuted in the United States in 1946. He won a World Middleweight Championship strap by stopping a faded Tony Zale in 12 rounds. That took place September 1948. He suffered a shoulder injury in his first title defense. 10-round stoppage of Jake LaMotta. He was actually stopped by Jake LaMotta in 1949. And that would be his last fight. Because when he was flying from France to New York to get a rematch with Jake LaMotta, he was killed in that accident of a plane crash. He was 33 years of age at the time of his death. Marvelous Marvin Hagler. And the reason why I'm reading these stats to you, I'm going to dig into Marvin Hagler right now. Like I said, he was from Boston, Massachusetts, originally from Newark, New Jersey. He had 62 fights, 3 losses. Let's go over these losses. He lost to Bobby Boogaloo Watts, Philadelphia fighter. Bobby Boogaloo Watts was a very good fighter in Philadelphia. He was. He lost to Willie the Worm Monroe. Another slick fighter. Moved a lot, knew how to hold, very skilled. And he would later lose to Sugar Ray Leonard in 1987. Now the draws, he had 2 draws. One was to Sugar Ray Seals. Sugar Ray Seals was going to be on the 1980 Olympic team, but Moscow didn't, we boycotted Moscow and it never happened. And the other one was to Vito Antuofermo. Now, Hagler never liked fighting in Vegas. And Vito Antuofermo was a Brooklyn native. Became middleweight champion of the world. Marvin Hagler always wanted that fight, and they gave him a draw. So he would eventually face Alan Minter and get his middleweight crown. Now he was 5'9", weighed 155 to 163 pounds. He was managed by Goody and Pat Petronelli. Had a fighting record of 62, 3, 2 draws, 52 knockouts. Now he would face Benny Briscoe. Now when he fought bad boy Benny Briscoe in his hometown of Philadelphia, he called out Ronnie Harris. A lot of people wouldn't do that. Ronnie Harris was an outstanding fighter, and he said that Ronnie Harris was a big mouth. You see, Marvin Hagler wanted that smoke, and he challenged Ronnie Harris in his hometown in Philadelphia at the Spectrum. They fought at the Blue Horizon. They fought 3 or 4 different places in Philly, did Marvin Hagler. But he fought Thomas the Hitman Hearns. That was one of the greatest fights in middleweight history. 3-round affair. And he would face Alan Minter, and he would win the middleweight championship of the world. He would face Vito Antuofermo twice. 1 draw, and he would knock him out in 5 rounds in a rematch. Marvin Hagler had the WBC and the WBA middleweight championship strap. October 3rd, he would face Mustafa Hamshaw. I was at that fight, Madison Square Garden, WBC, WBA middleweight championship strap. And he put a good beating on him. 1982, that was in 81. 1982, he fought William Caveman Lee, knocked him out in 1 round. WBA, WBC strap. Tony Simpson in 83, February 11th. He would defeat him. May 27th of that year, 83. Wilfred Scipion. WBA, WBC strap. November 10th, he would face Roberto Duran, WBC, WBA, and IBF championship strap. Now, Mike McCallum would always feel as though Marvin Hagler ducked him because he gave Roberto Duran a shot, not him. Said he was ranked number 1 at the time. Hagler said no, he was a junior middleweight at the time. Be that as it may, 1984, he would face Juan Rodan. WBC, WBA, and the IBF strap. Las Vegas, and he would defeat him. He would first face Roberto Duran November 10th, and he would defeat him. All this took place in 1983. The Rodan fight was in 1984. October 19th, Mustafa Hamshaw, Madison Square Garden. I was at that fight. Put a beating on him, knocked him out in the 3rd round. 1985, he would make a comeback. He had retired because Ray Leonard was giving him the runaround, keeping it real. He had a little party, bunch of food. All the reporters were there. He invited Marvin Hagler and his team there. He came in with a pair of glasses. And everybody thought the announcement was going to be made. The super fight was going to happen. And he turned around and just simply said, it ain't going to happen. He's retiring. And Marvin Hagler, he made that trip all the way over there, and he said he felt like a fool. So he kept his retirement in 1985. Now, I know he fought. I was at the fight in Las Vegas when he fought John the Beast Mugabe. Ray Leonard was in the audience. 1st round knockout between Thomas Hearns and James Schuler. That was the undercard. We also had Ricky Sandoval. And that was a tragic fight. He was knocked out and he was brought to the hospital. Gaby Canizales. But what Ray Leonard thought he saw was that Marvin Hagler couldn't go side to side. And he knew that because Mugabe, he had to fight Mugabe. He couldn't box Mugabe. And you box Mugabe, you don't fight Mugabe. And he couldn't box Mugabe. So he knew he couldn't go side to side, so he took the fight. He called his manager, Mike Trainer, and said, make the fight. So on April 15th, 1985, he would face Thomas the Hitman Hearns, knock him out in 3 rounds, one of the greatest fights of all time. And he would fight Ray Leonard in 1987. Ray Leonard would defeat him, according to the books. And that would be the end of Marvin Hagler. So let's regroup. Marvin Hagler would have the WBA, WBC, IBF middleweight championship strap. He would have several title defenses. He would clean up the Philadelphia fighters. He would fight several champions and Hall of Famers. Marcel Sedan would have 2 championships. He would have the welterweight championship of France and the welterweight championship of Europe. And he would have the world championship. He didn't fight the quality of fighters that Marvin Hagler has. He didn't fight the Hall of Famers that Marvin Hagler has. Now, as far as fighting one another, Marvin Hagler all day. He was a switch hitter. He was a southpaw. He can fight right-handed. He can box, and he can slug. And Marcel Sedan couldn't do that. So I would give the fight to Marvelous Marvin Hagler. He had a better career than Marcel Sedan. He was a better fighter than Marcel Sedan. He had a better overall record. Now, although Marcel Sedan had 105 wins, 4 losses, and 60 draws. 60 knockouts. Marvin Hagler has 62 wins, 3 losses with 2 draws, 52 knockouts. But the quality of fighters were in the favor of Marvin Hagler. So if you agree or you feel as though Marvin Hagler had a better fight record, or you feel that Marcel Sedan had a better fight record, or who would have won between Marvin Hagler and Marcel Sedan, put in the comment section. This is Scrapbook Boxing Museum of the Forgotten Fisticuffs series. This is round 2 of Battle of the Legends. Salute to my subscribers. Salute to Marcel Sedan and Marvelous Marvin Hagler. All great fights and all great fighters will never be forgotten on my channel. Salute.